Hi everyone, this is Athena from Courage Coaching. Thank you so much for stopping by today. In today's video, I would like to talk about the defense mechanism known as intellectualization. And when we use this defense mechanism, we use logic and reasoning to avoid actually feeling. We are focusing on the reasons why we may feel anxious. We are focusing on the external experience of our emotion rather than actually allowing ourselves to feel the emotion. Now, a good example is the emotion of anxiety. Now, when we feel anxious or scared, this is something that we don't want to have to experience. So we do everything in our power in that moment to avoid feeling this way. So it may be that we go online and we research anxiety. We research what it does to our body. We research why our hands get clammy or why our tummy has butterflies. We look at techniques of how to deal with it, or we will try and completely distract ourselves by doing something else, by avoiding it, by going on our phone and scrolling on social media. So anything at all to avoid the emotion, right? This is what intellectualization looks like. Now, intellectualization, as per Freudian psychology, involves immersing oneself deeply in the rational aspects of a situation while consciously disregarding the emotional side of things. When this feeling comes up, you immediately suppress it because it's uncomfortable. There may be times where you don't even know what you're feeling, but you're just constantly keeping busy in order to distract yourself. But the problem with not allowing ourselves to feel our emotions is that they will build up over time, because the more we suppress them, the more these emotions are going to want to come out. The more you push something down, the more you suppress it, the stronger that emotion will become. And it will only be a matter of time where you will really have to feel that emotion. And it may pop up at a time that is completely inconvenient. And when that happens, you're going to want to suppress it even more. So the healthiest option is to always allow yourself to feel the emotion that you're feeling, no matter how uncomfortable it is, no matter how inconvenient it may be. It's really difficult with emotions, because nobody wants to feel uncomfortable. Nobody wants to feel angry or frustrated or disappointed. Nobody wants to feel scared or depressed. Most negative emotions are something that nobody wants to deal with. We all avoid these things. We all suppress or try to numb these uncomfortable feelings, especially things such as feeling grief when we've lost someone important to us, or when we've just broken up with a partner, or when we've just lost our pet. Anything that relates to grief, stress, anxiety, fear, frustration, overwhelm, all of these emotions are really, really difficult to manage. So of course we're going to avoid them. The reality is that sometimes in order to feel better, we have to allow these emotions to come up and we have to just allow them to be present. And in order to allow our emotions to be present, a very good way of doing this is to actually name the emotion. So it can be as simple as writing down the emotion that you're feeling. Just allowing yourself to acknowledge that in this precise moment, you are feeling really, really sad. It is very important to tell yourself that it's okay to feel sad. And as uncomfortable as it is, it's better to allow it to be present and to feel it than to avoid it or to suppress it. The thing with difficult emotions is that sometimes they come up at very inconvenient times. So when you've lost someone really dear to you, it may be that your grief comes up in moments where you least expect it. So the last thing you want to be doing is to end up bursting into tears when you're sitting on a bus or you're on your way to work or you're in a business meeting. Unfortunately though, emotions come up whenever they do. We can't control when we are going to feel something. And if a difficult emotion does actually come up at a very inconvenient time, then we need to allow ourselves to feel and express this emotion later on in the day when we are at home or somewhere more quiet. we need to acknowledge that this emotion came up and try and understand why. It's important to remember that emotions are really important messengers. They tell us something important. They give us information about the state that we are in. They tell us whether we're feeling vulnerable or whether we're feeling let down by somebody or disappointed. They tell us when somebody has crossed our boundaries or they've hurt our feelings. We have to be very mindful of why a certain emotion comes up. And if we're not sure, then it's important to explore it. So sometimes keeping a journal can be a really, really good way to express your emotions, to process your emotions. A crucial thing to remember is that when we are not connected to our emotions, this means that we aren't actually able to take in information that is maybe needed in order to make a good decision. So a lot of people will make bad decisions or impulsive decisions because they are not in touch with their emotions or because they've tried to avoid their emotions. And also, when you notice these feelings come up, like observe them, monitor them, see, do they change throughout the day? Do they become more intense in certain moments or not? Keep an eye on your emotions. Ask questions. Try and figure out why something may have felt stronger at a certain point in the day. Was there something that happened that maybe triggered this emotion? For those of us who have childhood trauma, we can easily get triggered by many different things that happen in a day. And sometimes we can't quite put our finger on what it was that triggered a certain emotion. But it's important to keep a diary because this is something that may help you figure this out. Sometimes people that have had trauma find it really hard to actually allow themselves to feel joy or happiness. Or when they are actually really calm and everything's going really well, they actually start getting anxious because they're not used to feeling safe in their body. They're not used to feeling happy. If you have grown up in a constant state of hypervigilance because of dysfunctional family dynamics, and then suddenly you find yourself in a very calm environment where everything's predictable, where there is routine, and you know what your partner will say or do at any given time. There aren't any outbursts, there isn't any shouting or any huge arguments. When you actually get to the point where you start feeling safer, well, this can feel quite unnerving because you're not used to feeling this way. So sometimes those of us with trauma have to learn how to feel happy, how to allow ourselves to feel happy without catastrophizing, without worrying that something's going to go wrong. It's not only the negative emotions that are hard to feel, it can also be joyful emotions, positive emotions, happy emotions that are really, really alien to us because of our history of trauma. Also, if you grew up in an environment where emotions were not allowed to be present, you weren't allowed to express anger or frustration or any negative emotion for that matter, because your parents didn't have the energy to deal with you in that moment. When you actually experience anger, frustration in adulthood, you may feel really ashamed when this emotion comes up, and it may be extremely triggering for you. So any emotion that you weren't allowed to feel in childhood will be an emotion that you would rather suppress because it feels really shameful, because it makes you feel really guilty when you actually feel this. So this is very important to remember. Now, a very good exercise that you can do in order to allow yourself to feel your emotions is to find an emotion wheel. Now, you can find emotion wheels online. Some of them have got only positive emotions, some of them have got negative emotions, and some of these emotion wheels have all of the emotions. And when you're in a situation where you can't quite figure out what it is you're feeling, this may be a good way for you to figure out what has come up for you in that moment by looking at the emotion wheel and maybe finding the emotion on there that better suits the situation that you find yourself in. Emotion wheels are available in many different forms. Some of them are multicolored. You can even create your own based on another one. But having something like this that you can look at can help, especially for people that are completely shut down and completely out of touch with their emotions. These emotion wheels are a really good place to start. Another really important thing that you can do is also to notice how these emotions feel in your body. So obviously when you're anxious, what do you experience? Do you have clammy hands? Do you have a tight chest? Do you have butterflies in your tummy? This is one very good way in order to allow the emotions to come up, to flow, and then to leave again. Remember, emotions don't always stay present constantly. They come and they go, a bit like waves on the beach. They come and they go, and we sort of have to ride the emotion when it is present, allow it to be there, cry if we have to, if it's a difficult emotion, release the energy attached to it, allow ourselves to self-soothe, and then let it go. So the more we allow our emotions, the better we will feel in the long run, because we won't be carrying this weight. We won't have these emotions stuck in our body. It is much more healthy. This enables you to be more emotionally healthy. So when you find yourself overthinking, when you find yourself looking stuff up online, when you notice that you're not allowing yourself to feel certain things, please remind yourself how important it is to just let yourself feel. If you could relate to the topic of this video, I would love to hear your experience with this. So if you find yourself struggling with feeling your feelings, then please let me know in the comments below this video. That's it for today, everyone. Thank you so much for watching and for listening as always. And I will see you very, very soon. Take care. Bye-bye.